undertake such other things and to carry out such other activities as may, in the opinion of the Institute, be deemed necessary of the attainment of the objects of the Institute. In other words, the management must always think at all times on about what to do to facilitate the understanding not just of international relations, not just of international attitudes, but of international questions. But what are these questions? If Anikulapo Kuti were to be alive, he will say question, jam, answer. But this time, we are not yet in a center of confusion, a roundabout of confusion. We are very programmatic in our thoughts, and we have thought that if a country like South Korea can turn mountains, stones into values, into progress, if South Korea passed through what Nigeria is going through, South Korea, at the end of the day, after China, I think it is South Korea. South Korea is doing well. Now, what is it that we cannot also learn from South Korea? Since the act requires that we do what is doable and what is good enough to promote international questions. And since Nigeria's economic policy is predicated largely on attraction of investments, and we sent a very good, young, smart plenipotentiary to South Korea, Ambassador Akao, and South Korea reciprocated by sending another very competent, very patriotic ambassador to Nigeria. I think the NIA, as well as our partnering random dynamics, we can be a good middleman. Our role, we've been asked to partner with any institution, any organization having similar objectives like us. And we do have one of them, Random Dynamic Resources Limited, publishing intelligence analysis of market activities and so on and so forth. We decided that this time it is not always a partnership between intra and interstate institutions. What about the civil society, the private sector? And we found a good partner. It's just like a good boy who succeeds in getting a good girl, and they are able to interact, and their discussion ends up in marriage. We have succeeded in cutting Random Dynamic Resources Limited. Our relationship has gone beyond saying engagement and then fixing the final marriage at the altar. So we decided to bring the two eggheads represented here, Ambassador Jong-Hyo, Ambassador Akawa. So today, our regular partner, the mediators, the suitors that have been looking at the Random and the NIA, we mean the media, they have always been here giving us the support. And we now said today, we will have Symposium 2 on how to attract, or what are the challenges of attracting investments from South Korea. What's the situation there? In South Korea, have ensured that you are not bitten by mosquitoes. We've prepared for you as a symbol of progress. On this note, I want to welcome you all, and particularly to thank our chair and the lead speakers on your behalf for accepting our invitation. You are most welcome.
Publisher of research and intelligence magazine. Please give a applause to encourage
To commence my speech, I would want to crave your indulgence to especially thank the Director General of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, Professor Bala Akinterwa, for the opportunity given to Random Dynamic Resources to collaborate with NIIA in organizing this event. We thank you, Prof, for your support and good-naturedness, which we deeply appreciate. We also want to thank especially Mr. Alex Ekayan of Nigeria. Distinguished guests, as recently as 2006, when Random Dynamic Resources Limited was established as a market research company, our vision and implementation process for fulfilling our corporate goals is based on specific core values of honesty, development of people, and prompt service delivery. Curiously, the bulk of our brief that we have handled to date come from the multinational companies, international development agencies, and through referrals. A particular South Korean company in mass market consumer sector has remained as our major client over these years. Our painstaking commitment to quality service delivery is probably the most potent factor that has sustained our relationship with the South Korean company under reference. But why? The South Koreans are very peculiar people to do business with. No, we are not saying that they are very difficult to please, but they are sticklers for timeliness. They are not perfectionists, but they are habitually demand for quality of service that is almost flawless. We say these as complimentary remarks in honor of South Korea's doggedness, which has culminated to the emergence of the now famous miracle of Han River. I remember some years back when I was discussing with one Korean client of ours, and I threw this question to him. And I said, why do you people work so hard with such rushing tempo? Sometimes sending me emails by 2 a.m. and expecting me to respond immediately. And then the gentleman said, Paul, look, our generation has been asked to make great sacrifice to position our country as number one in the world within a specified period of time. It is not that we enjoy working like this, but because we have a national goal. For me, this is food for thought. In celebrating her 67th independence anniversary, South Korea has already attained the status of 15th largest economy in the world, apart from being a global leader in shipbuilding. Nigeria, which will be 52 in a few months' time, can do much more than what South Korea has achieved. But the big question is, can we do it alone or in collaboration with our trading partners? I think Nigeria knows what she should do alone and what she should do together with our friends, which is why we are here. Nigeria, at this point in time, when we are witnessing internal challenges, needs people who can understand that this is a passing phase in the history of our country, and that after the scorching rays of the sun comes the showers. Nigeria still remains a viable economy, given high investment potential and human population. Our confidence in the Nigerian economy is as strong as our belief in her democratic sovereignty. And for us to truly emerge as economic power and uphold the dream of our founding fathers, then we must begin to work in concert with our good allies, every one of us, no matter how little you can contribute to make this country great and greater than what it is at the moment. Already, we have the presence of South Korean companies doing legitimate business in Nigeria. But I believe that more will still want to come and explore the Nigerian market if adequate and unbiased information is provided to them about our country. The presence of His Excellency Ambassador Choi is suggestive to the fact that South Korea is a friendly nation to Nigeria. Therefore, both countries could enjoy more prosperous mutual relationship through a deliberate nurturing of our mutual interests, such as we are right now doing by this symposium, new flows of direct foreign investment from South Korea, which is also the theme of our symposium, and is apt in the circumstance and indeed of mutual advantage to both countries. The opportunities and its reward are very immense, and we would like to recommend for the establishment of Nigerian South Korea Chamber of Commerce, acting as a private sector vehicle to drive the process of further investments and its corresponding rewards. The deepening of South Korea's interest in Nigeria is a win-win scenario. It's achievable for our two great countries. Your Excellencies, you may want to respond to this initiative by confirming your willingness to endorse our suggestion for establishment of Nigeria-South Korea Chamber of Commerce. We wish the Republic of South Korea a more prosperous future and a cordial relationship with Nigeria. Finally, we wish our distinguished guests and faculties, all of you here, a fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much and God bless.
Hands that the NIIA has been spruced up. And those of us who are used to it know that is leaving his footmarks. I would like to also congratulate Messrs. Random Dynamic Resources Limited, the publishers of Research Intelligence magazine, for joining efforts with the NIIA to make today's occasion happen. It's not very common to have a private sector endeavor get into what has been described now as a marriage with the NIIA. And these are good signs of things to come. My prayer is that the result of this effort will yield self-actualizing results. How can I fail to mention the fact that we are very proud to have with us on this occasion 2 ambassadors. It goes to show the seriousness with which these nations view today's event. We have His Excellency, that's because charity is beginning from home, His Excellency Desmond Akawo, who is the Nigerian ambassador to South Korea. We say we welcome you, sir. The United States between 1948 and 1951 to distribute more than $12 billion to help reconstruct post-war Europe. Since then, of course, we've had a variety of schemes to make aid flow from one country to the other. So today, when we're talking about new flows of foreign direct investment from Korea, ostensibly to Nigeria, we're thinking in those terms. It's just as well that it's Nigeria-Korea that we're discussing. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there's so many similarities between Nigeria and South Korea, by way of background definitions. Both Nigeria and Korea were colonized. Korea by Japan, Nigeria by the UK. Both Nigeria and Korea went through some war. You remember 50-53, the Korean War. We also remember also the Nigerian War. Both Nigeria and Korea have been through military regimes, coup d'etat, dictatorship. You should think of Korea, for example, you think of people like General Park Chung-hee and General Du Han. All these were military leaders. Nigeria has also had its own fair share of militarism. So you see that there are a few things that we have in common. We can even say that we have that dreaded item of corruption in common. The difference, however, is that Korea did something about corruption, tried even some of its leaders and sent them to jail. In Nigeria here, if time is not taken, it may be globally read that Nigerians love corruption, and that corruption really has become the 37th state of Nigeria, with its own rights and benefits. So the first thing we learn is that for any country to be respected, it not only has to identify those who are offending the law, but must take sanctions. And as long as people who are having these attitudes and looting the treasury go free, Nigeria is not seen to be a serious country. It's not very heartening if somebody who steals a goat gets roasted in the process, and somebody who steals a whole city enjoys a round. It's also not so palatable that those who are set free in this part of the world get to face the law in other parts of the world. food for thought. Now, the comparison I've made stops there of similarity. There are differences we must note as Nigerians, because we're talking of flow coming from Korea into us here. You all know that there is a donor fatigue now internationally, especially to Nigeria. People are beginning to wonder, why give them aid when the aid is mismanaged? And when the aid is also utilized in an atmosphere of terrorism. Nigeria has been one entity since 1914, whereas Korea only came to be, South Korea that is, in 1945, when the North became the North, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and the South became Republic of Korea. And you remember they were cut along the 38th parallel. But that's only 1945. We were 1914, and they're today having their 67th anniversary, am I right, Your Excellency? If that is so, let us give Korea a round of applause. Their 67th anniversary as a nation. Now, Korea went to the United Nations in 1991. Nigeria already was in the United Nations in 1960. Yet in the United Nations, Korea has made such vast advancement that today Ban Ki-moon is the Secretary General of the United Nations. Nigeria has been there since 1960. What really is the matter? Why can't we use what we have to get what we want? I think really, economic discussions don't mean much unless the home front is civilized. I also think that with Nigeria, we not only just want loans, aid from Korea. We're asking ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, Korea is only 50 million. Its landmass is only 1/8 of Nigeria. Yet, it's a member of the G20. It's known internationally as a donor country. Now, and Seoul, its capital, is a beauty to behold. That's a city that was destroyed during the war. When I was there a few years ago, I was so surprised to see the way they preserve their temples. I was pleased to see how when you go from there to the seaport of Busan, people have been dedicated and committed to developing the nation out of their own hard work. What's happening with Nigeria? Why are we not doing that? Korea has been the host to the Olympic Games as far back as 1988. Seoul 88. At the Olympics now, they are number 5 on the medals table. And they're only 50 million. We're 150, if not 160 million. We went there, we had a colorful entree. There was a lot of green and white, there was a lot of dancing, which is know best. And we came with a dismal result. No medals. Now, you can be sure Nigerians are going to have seminars, discuss things, make recommendations. We've been making recommendations for 60 years and nothing has done. How is it that Korea is making it? So the friendship goes beyond the money we're talking about. And I believe that Korea, that started its economic recovery in 1999 and has gone this far, has a few things to teach us. Nigeria is a country that has 3 major things mentioned about it. The first thing that is mentioned about Nigeria is potential. The second thing about Nigeria is potential. The third thing about Nigeria is potential. And that's why Condoleezza Rice came some years ago and said, look, I'm tired of this potential. When are you going to turn this potential energy into kinetic energy? And when you have kinetic energy, then you can make sure that you can face the economy, that your market will be broadened, that your management will be acceptable, that you will have economic growth, that you will be able to provide economic climate, and then you will have an environment of predictability, of transparency, of capacity and ability. And then you can strategically put your position, your country, in a position to maximize. It's not all about talk. We have presidents who have visited Korea, so to say, to learn. Obasanjo was there in 2000 and 2006. We've had a whole lot of ministerial visits to Korea, and they are always discussing and discussing and discussing. And we, even Korean people, the ambassador is going to be very polite to you. You are a great country, but inside him he's going to say, "What's wrong with this country itself?" It's not a question of smiling. So I think we need to be able to think seriously as to how we can look at the opportunities to marry, quote unquote, the forces in Korea, to be able to address issues of defense, issues of the environment, issues of culture, of power, of trade, and indeed issues of youth in Nigeria. We have to be able to have advocacy programs that will let the world know that we do have a true relationship with Korea. And we need, as has been said, to have this kind of ideas being made concrete by forming the Nigerian-Korean Chamber of Commerce. There are very many bilateral chambers in Nigeria, America, South Africa, and so on, some of which we are very familiar with. Those in doubt should come to the Lagos Chamber of Commerce that's over 100 years old to see how this can be facilitated. Mr. Yusuf, I'm sure you are here. That's why I forced you only last night to be